questions with that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions he asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records of cash. We laughing, we drafting the passion through various time for that comedy, dramedy. All of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Conscious is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magicless, passing it. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers, what? All the answers.
We're starting over. Katie, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on? I went to Moab this weekend, Canyonlands. It was stunning. I have just like, holy God, you could see forever out there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I haven't been there in a long time, but
and nature like carved all these crazy canyons. I mean, canyon after canyon after canyon. And you're like, how many canyons could there be?
yeah, I mean the name's a little on the nose, but that's cool. What do we call it? Canyon Place.
Yeah, the place where the canyons are. I had a lesbian friend say to me, this was the third date, let's be clear, which it's too much. It's officially too much to do 2.5 days in a hotel with someone. On a third date, you can't do that. You can't do it.
I was shocked to hear this.
You can't do that. It's wrong. It's morally reprehensible. No, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
It's certainly not advisable. Like, I don't think, generally speaking, it would be advice I would give a human to try.
Yeah.
But it went really well. Yeah. Just like, I don't know. I think we get along really well. So it was like fun.
Nice. That's great. I'm fucking happy for you. That's cool. I don't know what else to say about it. I'm just like, also, I don't want to like go too into it because like feel like
I know.
that's a delicate.
Yes.
Like we get very personal and very unearthly about things. I don't want to put too much weight
Thank you.
on.
Let's not do that. Yeah. Good call. But what I will say is it was fun to like go on a trip with a person and like share the experience of a thing and have a fun time with a new individual and also see just all this beautiful landscape. And it was also, I have to admit, it was really fun to have like just a nice kind of easy time with someone. Like it wasn't hard. There was stuff to navigate around just like, wow, we're still in this room, huh? But he was so fun that we would like, okay, let's play a game or okay, let's, eat more tacos or whatever.
Okay, that does bring up, I am going to get crass for a sec, but it's not going to be sex. When you're that intimate with somebody that quick, like staying in the same space, pooping, that's an issue.
Oh, see, here's the thing that made this a good date. That's just such a good question.
I'm glad you understood.
Oh my God, 100%. Moment one, walking into the hotel room, I was like, so when you have to shit, you understand, I'll just be right over here. Like, we're not going to have a lot of space with the shitting. And he was like, I don't know, I feel weirdly comfortable with you. Like he had already farted in front of me.
Good. Get that out of the way.
On date 2.
Was it acknowledged at the time? Did you like go, oh yeah, you just farted?
No, he did. He went, oh God, I can't believe we're doing this.
You don't have to. We can move on. Poor guy.
But it's such good material.
It is.
So we're laying there, and I do have things to say about it that lead to the Scott Victor Nelson topic that I think we're going to hit on as soon as our guest comes on today, which is kind of perfect.
Okay.
On the second date, there may have been some physical communion. And what am I, a 16-year-old girl? I can't say
in Catholic school. I was just listening to the butt stuff episode, and you referred to what I was hoping to be engaged in as sexual congress. So, so there's no escaping
Congress
it.
Is such a great phrase. It hurts.
But then you think of most of our Congress people, and you're like, nope.
Nope. Okay, so there was communion.
Was there a wafer?
I put the wafer on my tongue, as it were. Anyway, the point is
that
then we're like,
calling it? Is that how it's shaped? Because I'm sorry for this person. If it's wafer shaped.
I told him I wouldn't talk about the shape of his penis being like a wafer.
Okay. On the podcast.
It's already come up. So,
what is wrong with us today?
So anyway, we're laying there and we're having fun. We're laughing. We're talking about something. And he rips the most committed. intense, vocally sound fart. Just not one that you could ever pass
like a sound
over.
effect from a soundboard, not actually a human.
Right. You could never be like, oh, that was the wind. That was a fart from
you didn't
your butthole.
move the chair.
No. Anyway, so the fart happens and he goes, and it lasts for like time. It lasts such that like I watch my mind go, wow, he's farting in front of me. And then like, is that fart still happening? And then like, I'm going to have to make a joke. And then it ends. And then he made a joke first, which I was really grateful for because I was like, which direction do I go with the comedy here? I don't know.
Oh my God. Whew, I needed that. That laugh was necessary.
Anyway, he goes, well, I guess I feel really comfortable with you. So that's date 2. And so by date 3, I was like, well, we have to talk about the fact that we're both going to be shitting in proximity.
God.
And it was just fine. It was like, I don't know if he turned the shower on when he would shit or what, but I'd be like far on the other side of the room. I never heard anything.
That's good.
Although,
it's not always an audible thing.
I got to tell you this story. And this is funny because yesterday he and I were texting back and forth and I was like, have I told you the feces in the snow story? And he goes, no, but I think that would be funnier in person. And I go, fair enough. And actually, it was a moment where halfway through typing the sentence, have I told you the feces in the snow story? I realized I'm not ready to tell him the feces in the snow story. Sure, I'll tell 100 listeners here on the podcast, but I'm not going to tell him.
Are you going to tell us? Because you've never told us that story.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Good. Whew.
The other thing was halfway through writing it, it's always like as I'm pressing send, I'm going, ooh, maybe not yet. But
what is wrong with me?
Yeah, exactly. So the other thing I realized halfway through pressing send was that this happened on the way to my first date with him.
What did? The feces in the snow story?
Yes.
Oh, this is a recent story. This is not like happened. Old Katie lore.
No. This is spiritually evolved Katie Rubin defecating in the white snows.
Oh, well, there's the punchline, apparently. We already know the result. That's fine.
So I'm driving.
What's the lead up?
Up to fucking Telluride. We're going to like this place called Orvis Hot Springs, which is like just outside of a town called Ouray, which is sort of near Telluride. You gotta drive through the gnarliest fucking passes on the mountains, like twisty. It has just snowed, and that's like the worst time to drive on these mountain passes because the roads are like, you're looking at the road and you're going, is that black ice or is that water? I can't tell. So the best choice you can make is to drive 20 miles an hour the whole fucking way. It's a 2.5 hour drive, so it turns into a 4-hour drive. This is for a fucking first date, okay? And the date was at a hot springs. So we're gonna get in our bathing suits on date number 1 and spend a bunch of hours together in a hot springs, which
but
already
you're meeting him there? You're not driving with him at this point?
Correct.
Okay.
We're meeting there, yeah. And so I'm already
also,
like,
that's
wow.
Commitment, unless he lives in Telluride.
Well, he lives like two, is that right? Maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, a different direction away from the hot springs. So
how far does he live from you now?
2 hours.
Okay, so it's like a triangle.
Yep.
2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, right?
Yeah, if he had come and gotten me, that'd be 4 hours for him.
Still, that's an interesting date configuration you've achieved.
Exactly. So
semi-long distance relationship. All right, go on.
Yep. Thank you for establishing the reality we're in.
Yeah,
it's important. So,
setting.
Driving 7 miles an hour forever, terrified, gripping the steering wheel like a terrified maniac.
Yeah.
But also going like, this is the most stunning landscape I've ever seen. Like the most stunning it's like being in the Swiss Alps. If you drive up to fucking Telluride, it's really gorgeous. Anyway, I being me, I have my espresso with honey in the morning and my water because I like to hydrate. If I'm going to dehydrate with the coffee, you got to rehydrate. So I'm pounding all the liquids, one of which is a strong diuretic, and I'm terrified. So that's a diuretic. You know that when your system is terrified.
You're shaking the, yep.
Yeah, your bowels go like, well, let's release everything just in case. I get to this gorgeous overpass. It's been 2 hours. I have to shit so bad. And there's nothing. There's just nature. So I go, all right, I'm shitting in the woods because I got to shit. And I got to shit now. I get out of the car and I have in my glove compartment, because I am prepared, moist towelettes.
Well, that's good.
I bring the moist towelettes with me. I figure I'm going to go off into the dog is at home. I didn't have her with me, thankfully, because otherwise that would have been another layer of crazy. Anyway, that doesn't matter. That's just on my mind. I think I'm going out into the forest to find a nice, appropriate defecation spot. But there's a building right off the road that's like a rest stop where there's bathrooms. So I'm like, oh my God, I scored. I'm going to go, I have to shit right this second. And there happens to be a bathroom here. Look at the miracle. I go up to the building and the fucking doors are locked because of COVID. Nobody can take shits anywhere. So
apparently COVID has made it so you don't have to shit. Is that I don't know.
Right, exactly. So, but because I sort of backtracked, I was heading into the forest, but I had backtracked because I saw the building that I hadn't seen before. Now more time has passed and now I really have to take a shit. So I have no more time. We're
at the second sphincter now, right? At this point, right. You know how there's two. One releases and loads to the second. Yeah.
You are correct.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's a turtle head poking through and it's happening. So I hide from the road behind the building, pull my pants down, pee forever. I pee. And midway, it was the kind of shit where midway through the pee, you're not stopping that shit. It's happening. So the shit comes out and I figure this is a first. I've actually never shat in nature before.
Wild.
Have you?
I rarely, maybe, but not. No. I'm going to say no because I can't picture it.
I've never one time been out of doors, not in an outhouse or a bathroom and shat. I've never done it. So I'm like aware of it, going like, this is crazy. Thank God there's no people. Okay. So I finish. I have my moist towelettes. I handle the situation. And I look down to put the moist towelettes. I'm thinking I'm going to put them over the feces and then cover the feces with snow because that's decent.
Yep. Of course, all snow does is melt.
Correct. And what happened was I looked down and I am telling you, Cassidy, can you see the dog on my lap?
Yeah.
That's how much shit there was.
That's the size of it right there.
I shat like...
Your dog.
Like 3 logs, each of which were like a foot long with girth and had... So I'm covering it with snow and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's just emerging. No matter where I put the snow, the brown of the shit keeps poking through. And then I've got moist towelettes on top, which is basically a neon sign that says, look for the shit here. I back away from the building just to see like, how far away from this building do you have to be to see that there's a huge pile of human feces here? And the answer is very far. You could go you could get all the way to Telluride from that pass. Look to your left and you would see my huge pile of shit. So that's the story. I guess the short version is I shat outside and it was kind of intense.
Yeah. You tend to have intense poop stories.
Do I?
You've had a couple.
Have I?
If we were to review, there have been a couple others.
What's
where you've just
one?
said, well, I feel like if I ever reference like as a joke, if I'd be like, oh, like you took an enormous dump, and you'd be like, well, yeah, that's another story, but yeah, absolutely, an enormous, like you've referenced the enormity of your poop in the past. So, wow, we have got off to a good start today. This is where we're at.
We have to bring our guest on. That's the perfect transition.
He has no idea what we've been talking about.
Okay,
yeah, bring him in.
I'm gonna.
Also, yeah, we need Desmond to let him in so that.
Oh, is Desmond here?
I think so.
Okay,
Desmond's still here.
Hey, you.
There he is.
Okay. That's
with his shock face.
Hop on in. We are stoked to have you.
All right.
I'll give you guys
I have an idea. I was going to say, just for fun, tell me nothing about this guy and let me introduce him as like through interview.
Okay, I love it.
Does that make sense? I know almost nothing except LA.
Well, and I have a specific thing I want to talk with him about that I think will be a great conversation for us all. But let's do your thing first.
Let me just try it, just for fun. Yep. Here he comes.
Here we go. Hold your sphincters in.
Both of them.
Oh, in both. What?
Hey, welcome, Scott.
Good morning. What's happening?
Good morning.
Do you see real quick, Cassidy, the face on this man?
He's a handsome man. You keep bringing us very handsome men, Katie. I just want you to know that.
Face. Scott's the kind of guy where when we became friends in LA, and then that's all I'm going to say because Cassidy's going to introduce you by way of interview. But when we met, I was like, I don't know if I could convince a person that attractive to actually talk to me in any way. And then we became buddies a little bit, and I was like, he's still talking to me. Has he not recognized that I am in another dimension? I am in another category. How can he hear me on the planet he lives on? The frequencies don't connect. You know what I mean?
Not true.
How the hell is someone supposed to respond to that?
With gratitude. Oh, he's hot. Look at him.
He is.
Hi, Scott.
Hi,
gorgeous. I love you. You're also a wonderful human through your heart. You're not just a shell of a hot man.
Unless that's how you feel, then in which case, Scott, fair warning, we're punchy as hell this morning.
Great.
We've been laughing really hard about scatological things, and so just that's where we're at. That's what we're starting.
It's a shit humor day, huh?
Yes.
Literally, directly.
All right.
Like significant amount of shit laughter going on.
All right.
Scott, I know nothing about you, so I'm just going to get a few things out about you by asking you things about you. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Hey, I'm Cassidy, by the way. That's my name.
I'm Scott.
Scott, first off, how do we come to have you here? How did you meet Katie? How do you know Katie? Just what's your Katie story?
And I think this will lead nicely into what you and I were talking about, Scott, which I'm excited to keep talking about here.
Katie and I met, God, I don't remember how we actually, like what the official way we met was. Do you?
I do.
What was it?
So I was directing a play in Los Angeles. Let's go like this. I was directing a play.
She's putting up air quotes.
Yeah. In Los Angeles.
Because it was really porn? Why are you putting it in quotes?
Yep. It was poor. Or did you say porn?
Porn. He said porn.
You came in to audition for it. We put it out on like all the casting whatevers, and you showed up and were actually a real actor and like and like
not a porn actor.
Not a porn actor anymore. He had left that life behind.
I left the business.
And then I tried Cassidy so hard to get Scott to say yes to doing this play because I needed a male lead that was like, could really hold the thing. And I give you so much credit, Scott, because I can be a pushy motherfucker. Scott was like, I'm really gonna sit with it. I'm gonna think about it. And then I'd call a few days later and be like, how's the thinking? And he'd be like, well, I have a question. Then he'd ask a very rational question. And then I'd be like, I don't have a good answer, but you should do this play. And he'd be like, I'm going to think more. More.
I do remember this. Yeah.
And then he never did the play.
And then I never did the play.
No.
Yeah.
Do you remember why you didn't do the play, Scott? Tell the truth. Like, what were the red flags that kept you at
Cassidy,
bay?
it was so long ago. I really, I wish I could give you a better version of this story, but chances are it was just sort of a hodgepodgey thing that didn't feel like it had enough of like legs for me or something for me to actually get involved with that I could tangibly grasp.
I totally understand. It clearly made an impression on Katie.
Yeah, well, Katie and I became friends through the process. So that was cool.
Yep. I remember why you didn't do the play.
Was it terrible?
Because he read it. He read the play. No, also there was a bit, let's be kind. It was, there were humans involved that made it complex and rich and difficult. And he could feel it. I remember we had a conversation about, you were like, oh, so I'd be acting against these energies. I see. And then you were very gentle and very tactful. And I was like, Yeah, he gets why I shouldn't be in this as well, but he's smart enough to
what
not be
was
in
the
it.
play, Katie?
We can beep it.
Can we? Okay. It was called, I think the title tells you everything. It was like, oh no, what was it? I don't remember. It was bad.
I don't know. The only thing I remember is there was this one show that I was going to do called Three Lefts, and it went through 3 directors. And when we asked the writer why she called it Three Lefts, she just liked the idea. It had nothing to do with the story. That play never happened.
It sounds like she was being prescient, and she was like, well, we had one director and he left, and another director and
exactly.
she left.
But you know what? But the thing is, it was named that before that happened.
I know. See, the universe knows.
I see what you're saying. Cassidy, look at you.
I'm just saying. All right, back to you, Scott.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you in LA? Is this correct?
I'm in LA.
Are you still working the acting thing in LA, or have you become a general contractor?
No, I just finished doing a play with Jeff Perry, who's a Steppenwolf Ensemble member. He directed it, and Cora Vanderbrook, who's an amazing actress, who the week after we finished doing the play was nominated for a Tony for her work in Linda Vista on Broadway.
Cool.
So we just finished doing a play called Beirut.
Oh, I know that play. Yeah.
Yeah, I fell in love with it because it spoke so much to sort of what was happening during this time. You know, it was written in 1987 and it was written in the midst of the AIDS crisis. And it's about one character who's blood positive and one character who's blood negative, and one's in quarantine and the other sneaks in to be with him.
Oh
and
boy.
It just, when I heard it, it just spoke to me so much about where we are right now with COVID and people not knowing who can you touch, who can't you touch, and people needing intimacy and not being able to get it and what's going on. And so I fell in love with the play and I brought it to Jeff and Cora, and we just started working on it. We worked on it for like 5 months, and then we did it for the Motion Picture Television Fund in LA, which was really cool.
So are you one of those rarities, an LA stage actor, or are you also doing a lot of TV film? What's the story?
I started in Chicago. I was a theater actor in Chicago, and I came out here about 15, 16 years ago. And I've done a lot of theater in LA. I also do a lot of voiceover work. Right now, I'm the voice for Disney radio stuff. But I've been like the voice of Bravo. I've narrated TV shows on TLC. I did commercial campaigns for Prius and McDonald's and Nintendo and all kinds of stuff.
So you're also in a situation that sounds like you're a little more well positioned in this current climate because your work is probably able to continue as a successful voice actor.
Voiceover can still go, which is great. TV film, and then to answer your question about TV film, I've done some TV film. I'd like to do more.
Wouldn't we all?
But yeah, I've done a couple shows, and yeah, it's interesting. You know, when this whole pandemic happened, everybody started putting in home studios very quickly, voiceover actors, right? And
me right here.
Did you do that?
I'm not in it because it's too good right now, and it makes me not match Katie's sound. But yeah, it's right behind me.
Do you do voiceover work, Cassidy?
I audition for voiceover work. That's the best I'm going to say. Okay. Very little. Okay. I'd like to do more. Yeah. Anyway.
So it's great you put a booth in. I did not.
Oh, really?
Oh, but I will in the near future. I moved out of my place. I moved in with my girlfriend in October. So everything was still sort of up in the air and getting settled and all of that. So
that's funny. See, that tells the world that everything's in chaos because like you, the successful voiceover actor who actually needs a home studio so that you can keep doing your work because you already have existing contracts, blah, blah, blah. But you're also like, yeah, also I just fucking do it and it's fine.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to a studio when I've got a job. I'm going, there's a couple of COVID compliant studios and I go to one of those. So
all right.
Just, it works for now.
All right, I'm going to push forward because my only third question is now, why did you want to be on the podcast? What is your connection to the podcast? What drew you to say, I want to be on that podcast?
So it's interesting. You know, the funny thing is, things the way energy works and stuff like that, and the way people come in and out of our lives, right? Katie started popping back up. I mean, Katie and I hadn't talked in probably a couple of years, right? Like, Yeah. And her stuff started popping up on my feed again. And I just started like, I don't know, was it a time I had actually started. So in the midst of all of this, I've also been a yoga and a meditation teacher for like 20 years. And I've been in recovery for 10. And I was about to go back to school and get my master's in clinical psychology.
Oh, wow.
I got accepted into Antioch during the pandemic, and then I got waitlisted. And I was like, well, fuck, I just want to help people. So I'm just going to start coaching people. I'm just going to take all my fucking talents and just start working with people and see what I can do. And around that same time, stuff of Katie's stuff started popping up. And I just started like vibing with her and watching her stuff. And at the time, she had just been called to Colorado. So I kind of was catching that journey. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And what's going on? And Katie's in this new thing. And then we chatted a little bit. We started talking again, and then we were just sort of, it was like we were just sort of missing each other. Like she was doing this healing thing on like a Friday night, and it started at like 5, and I think I like messaged her at like 5:05 because I thought it started at 5:30, and like so we were just
he's like, how do I get on this? And I'm like, there's 100 people I'm talking to right now. I'm not texting your ass. How you get on is you read the fucking thing, you douche.
Yeah, exactly. You pay attention and you find out ahead of time when you actually need to be there. So anyway, I don't know. She's been on my radar again. We've been chatting a little bit, and then something popped up about one of the podcasts. And I just was like, I just sent her a message. I was like, I had never even listened to the podcast. And I was just like, I want to be on your podcast. I was like, I want to do that. Yeah. I figured we would talk about like coaching and energy things and all of this stuff.
We will.
Right, but I didn't know.
Be eventually.
Right. And so she's like,
so
well, you might
he knows nothing about, he goes, I want to play the podcast. I go, how about next week? And then he goes, and then I start to tell him what we do. And he's like, oh my.
That's not a podcast I thought I was.
That was going to happen.
Yeah. She was like, how about next week? I'm like, great. And she messages me last night. She's like, can you do it tomorrow? I'm like, awesome. And then she's like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, we're just going to like shoot the shit as coaches and stuff, right? And she's like, have you listened to the podcast?
No, I'm going to open your deepest soul's records, peered into the origin of the light of your connection to the divine is what we're going to do.
Yeah. So I listened to the podcast with your father.
Cassidy. Demon breath, right?
Weird
Demon
one.
Breath. Yeah. And then I listened to the one with the woman who started the Kinky AA meeting, which made me very sad that I've been in recovery for 10 years and I did not know that there was a Kinky AA meeting because I would like to go to that.
You gotta live in the Bay Area.
Yep.
Oh, is that where it is?
Yeah.
The one that Katie
happened
happened upon.
LA.
No, she was.
Did you hear the story about how I accidentally stumbled into that meeting?
Yeah, it was in that episode. You talked about it.
Something. Yeah.
Right. But of course, because I'm in LA, I was just thinking it was in LA because, you know.
Because the world revolves around LA in your myopic sense.
And also Katie was in LA. I mean, she's not anymore, but
it's true.
Right.
So perfect. Right in keeping with the tone of today. Shitty. So that's how Scott and I met. Does that feel satisfying, Cassidy?
I'm great. Thank you for giving me that leeway. I was just, go on.
Did you come? Did you come yet?
Spiritually.
Yeah, was that a fully satisfying thing for you?
But like in a Kundalini sense, it shot up my spine. It didn't release.
Do you feel like it's more like we're just edging? Are we just edging you right now? Have we not let you release?
Which is very satisfying to me. So move on.
Who wants to define edging for the people that don't know what that is? Go ahead, Scott.
Go on.
Go ahead.
So it's when you bring yourself close to orgasm and then you stop, and then you bring yourself close to orgasm again and you stop, and you can do it with someone else, or you can do it with
someone else
yourself,
can be in control of your
keep building 100%. I highly encourage that and recommend that to everyone out there. But choose the right.
You take a shit in the snow.
See, I missed the whole first.
I know, but they didn't.
So, yeah, that's great. Maybe you want to catch me up on the scatological side of the story.
Okay. First, though, we'll catch you up in a second.
Okay.
First, I want to name a thing because I think this is interesting. My experience of you, Scott, this is how I frequently feel in the presence of Scott. And by the way, I'd like to go back to the topic of me calling Scott gorgeous just for a fucking second, because we all need to take a breath and calm down about it. Because listen, it's happening in the room. It's a real thing. Like, in other words, when you say, how is he possibly supposed to respond to that? The answer in my mind is like, or an answer is, wow, Katie, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Because from my heart, I'm actually acknowledging something very real about this human that you cannot miss. And as a comedian, my job is to be like, look at the thing nobody's talking about. So I'm just saying.
Thank you. It's really kind of you to say that. It makes me really uncomfortable.
Okay.
I don't see it that way, right? Like I understand it the way that some other people see it, but also because I'm such a perfectionist and I'm 46 and my body's not in the shape that it was, right?
Yeah.
Like, and all those kind of things, I don't see it. But you know what? Thank you for bringing me to my attention, because in my sort of like hiding in that moment, I didn't say thank you, because it is really beautiful that you acknowledge that and that you're saying that. So I do say thank you. And that's very kind of you to say. So thank you.
Okay. So thank you for that, because I don't want to pass by that moment, because look at how juicy the conversation is once we acknowledge how uncomfortable it is to receive a compliment like that. Like, that's so relevant for everyone listening. Like, people have where in America, I just did my impression of me that you do, Cassidy, but where in America is anyone encouraging or people to take a moment to receive compliments? Like, we have to like go to fucking therapy school to learn that shit. And I want to be like, hold on, you're pretty, deal with it. And
I know I have great eyes.
You fucking
nice.
do.
And I have good bone structure.
Yeah. So, okay. So there's that. Thank you. I needed to just come back to that for a second. The next thing is, another thing I enjoy about my dynamic with Scott is that, well, God, there's so much more we could say about the beauty thing, because let me just say this much. When I did first meet you, Scott, I had a whole process around it. I was very conscious of like, I was making a joke earlier about it because it was so intense for me when I first met you to be like, I honestly don't feel like I can talk to this dude. Like the only way I felt I could talk to you because of my own stuff around looks and status and beauty and all that was like, if I hire him for this job, then I have some like authority in this dynamic and he'll have to listen to me say words. But without authority, I thought this dude would never stop and talk to me because he'd be off on some, where's the hot yoga lady in the room? And I would never get any airtime. But that's, I think, an important and interesting thing to look at in terms of like back in the day where I felt the need to prove myself to anyone ever. The way the proving happens for me because of my own self-perception is through, look what I can do through my competence. I'm intelligent, I'm smart, I know how to direct a play, then you'll want to talk to me. But if I don't have competence in the moment, what would you ever talk to me about? Because
right.
So that's,
you're placing a narrative on him.
Own,
yeah.
Yes. Which of course I've worked with that for years, and now it's just very different. But it's fun for me to have you here, Scott, to get to kind of feel my own experience of myself as I am today versus when I met you, where I was all like, I mean, in LA doesn't help, man. Being in LA, it was like, I just felt a constant pressure to be like anything other than what I am, you know? And then getting out of there was such an important step for me in like owning what for me felt true. For me, it was like, I can't stay here and be content. But I, for years, kept telling myself, I should be able to find a way. I'm smart enough. I can transcend this. I'm spiritual enough. I have all the tools. Shouldn't I? But the liberation came when I finally like penetrated the fucking grapevine and was able to get the fuck out of Dodge. And then I could feel myself again and not feel like I was living in a constant soup of competition, which is what the energy of LA is for me. That's how it lands in my nervous system, is this soup of competitiveness and beauty standards that I just kind of can't swim in that ocean. And I think, and then I'll stop talking, I swear, but I think for people like yourself, I've always had this interesting sort of question on my mind, which is like, if you are super attractive, and when I mean super attractive, I mean like in this beauty standards of what Hollywood would say, we want to put this face on camera and people pay to watch it. That's what that business is, right? Mm-hmm. but you're someone who's connected to themselves and has a soul and isn't just a vapid, I'm just pretty person. I imagine in a way the dynamics of LA become more complicated because you're like, I'm not just what you see, I'm so much more, but you can use what you have here on the face to get into doors. Do you see what I'm saying? It's almost like you're in all the worlds at once.
Well, yeah. And as somebody, I mean, yes. And again, thank you for your kindness and your compliment.
Sure.
I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you for speaking about your own stuff so openly and honestly. And it's so funny because when I met you, like I'm attracted to people, like someone who's really might look like pretty but doesn't have anything to say, or I don't know. I mean, I'm a weirdo. I see people's spirits. You know what I mean? Like I see the being. I don't see the body. I mean, I see the body, but I see the being, and I'm more interested in beings. It's just the truth, right? So beauty is a much bigger thing to me, much bigger in the way that I see people. But to speak to what you were saying about LA and everything, I actually think I struggled with being seen. I struggled with seeing myself, and I struggled with being seen, which is why I think I excelled in voiceover, because I didn't have to be seen and I could do all these things behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
And I could convey all this stuff just with my voice. But the second I would walk into, I didn't have a problem on stage. For whatever reason on stage, it wasn't a big deal. And I think part of that was because there's a 4 to 6 week rehearsal process. There's other people, all that stuff. Yeah. But when I walked into an on-camera audition and there's a person there and there's a camera, I couldn't just be me. I was like, all my childhood shit came up, the people pleasing, the things, the need, the fear, all of it would come up. And so I actually wasn't able to sit with a lot of exactly what you're talking about. And I think I blew a lot of really big opportunities because of that, right? Because people were like, oh, you look like this. Right. So we want to do this with you. And I'm like, whoa, what? You know? But also I desperately want it. And desperately wanting it is the worst thing as somebody who looks like this can possibly fucking do, because that's the least thing they want from that, right? Because they want you to like not want them and not need anything and blah, 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 right? And I'm just this scared kid from Cleveland who's like, hey, can this fix my fucking shitty mommy and daddy stuff?
Yeah, for real. For real.
But I love plays, like, but there's something about plays that are so much more dynamic, where I feel like there's so much more space for the entirety of me to show up, so I can have all of it on stage in a way that I feel like when there's a camera is much more challenging. Now I've gotten a lot better about it, but
yes. But you know, that makes me think about this thing I heard someone say once, that plays are about ideas and film is about images, because the medium itself is like this huge building size image on the wall. So people have to be in love with the image they're looking at primarily.
It's a visual,
it's a visual
format. It's a visual medium. And
whereas
plays are like, you're in a room when you can be with 50, 100, 500, 5,000 other people who are all sitting in a chair, in chairs, right, in seats. And then people are on stage. There's this communal soul thing. I mean, did you see the article that came out like 6 months ago about how people's heartbeat, like there's a cohesion of people's heartbeats in the theater when they sit together?
Yeah.
It's a very powerful thing, what theater is and what theater does. And it's very different. It's the whole film thing is very different, because you can edit, you can cut, you can redo shit. You can't. Theater's all live. It's happening in the moment.
Yep. And also you've got, like, from an energy perspective, you've got like the literal sort of energetic vibration that the bodies on stage are giving off that literally physically impacts the physical reality of you in the audience. So we're like exchanging molecules on stage and with an audience. Whereas in film, you're not exchanging any molecules with someone. You're exchanging, you know, you can receive from them, but it's less of a back and forth, and it's less physically visceral in the moment. And so I think for some of us, this whole thing is about that viscerality, that lifeblood, the pulse of connection.
Yes. I think the thing that happens on screen that's a little bit different than theater is all the mirror neuron stuff.
Right.
Where, like, you see someone and you could be that person. Like, yes, it happens on stage, but there's also so many people and so many things. When you're like, I think that's why we love superhero movies so much, right? I think that's why there's an endless fascination with superheroes, because that person on screen is you, right? That person on screen, that's the potential for you to be. And I think that's why, I mean, I love villains for that reason.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you can project yourself more easily onto a screen image than you can onto a character on stage.
Yeah.
Because they're in the room and that person is that person. But if they're not in the room, you can project nice and easy. And that's the whole business, I think, of film is like, what will an audience, based on the normal human social dynamic based judgments that this world functions from, what will an audience collectively project onto your face is the question they're asking when they're looking at you. What can we all collectively agree to project on you? Yeah. That's how the casting works. Yeah. And once I understood that, I was like, oh yeah, I can't be a part of that. Because I don't know, creative self-expression thing has to do with inside out. It has to do with, I need to do this thing now. So you can pay and see it or not, but I have to do this thing for myself. I have to, like, from the inside of me, I feel like pretending to be a tap dancer now. So here I go. It has nothing to do. Now you're watching what I'm doing because I need to do it, not you're watching what I'm doing so you can project onto me what you need to experience. Although, of course, that's happening anyway. You can't stop an audience from projecting onto you what they're going to project onto you. But my point being is I was always too much of a creator or an author or something where I'm like, no, I'd like to decide what I'm saying.
I think part of it is people that do stand-up or are performance artists have a lot to express. And in the theater or TV world, you're often playing characters, almost always, where it's a deep level of repression, not expression.
That's right.
And so it requires a lot of suppression.
That's right.
Of all of the things you want to express.
That's right.
And it's taken me a long time to understand that it's so much about, that's why the people that are good at it are fucking masters. Like, I don't know if you're watching The Undoing with Nicole Kidman right now on HBO.
No.
But like watching the camera on Nicole Kidman, even though I think there's too much work that's been done on her face.
Yeah.
Like, is still riveting because it's not just what we're projecting onto her, but it's also everything that's going on internally that she is experiencing and allowing us a glimpse into without showing us a fucking thing.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So it's all internal. It's all, and the people that are good at it are fucking phenomenal.
Right.
But again, I think people like big people who need to belt and sing and do all that stuff. Like, you've got to have the space to do that.
Yeah.
You don't, you'd be great for 3-camera sitcom because
exactly
that's your energy.
That's right. Yeah. All of that. It's all very fascinating. Now, I want to name a different thing. I'm going to change the subject a little bit. Unless, Cass, you have something on any of that.
No, I'll just chime in to say that this analysis, this breakdown is totally kind of breaking my brain in a good way. I'm really appreciating the, I don't know, just the differencing here, because I'm just thinking about casting and stuff like that and how I'm responding. I will say one thing. I've been enjoying some shows that I'm really enjoying the sort of, I hate the word at this point, but the diversity of I won't even say diversity, the non-whiteness of, and the wonderful casting. But then even within that sort of like, we're breaking down the sort of standards of the default and stuff like that. Even within that, there's a beauty standard that's still occurring even within that diversity. And even within the diversity of beauty standard, there's still a beauty. Like, there's a character that's, chubby and awkward, but she still has a visual attractiveness to her. Like, we haven't gotten past that trope. Like, we still need these standards of the trope. And I think it has to do with that projection of, like, we need to see these sort of types, but they still need to be types that we can project onto, we can recognize ourselves in. They can't just be totally an individual, I'm wondering.
And I guess I would add to that, I do feel like there is a strong push right now in the industry. There are people breaking that structure, I think. There are people really working hard to be like I'm thinking of Transparent, and I'm thinking of just other even less popular famous shows that where it's like, no. Let's break all that apart. Nope, none of that. And I give everybody credit, the people who sort of stay inside that system and break it from the inside. That is the fucking revolution.
It's incredible, right? I mean, when you look at the changes and the things, especially, you said Transparent, what's happened just in terms of trans visibility and what that's happened in media. Like, so my friend Alexandra Billings is what played Davinia on Transparent, and from that she, now she's recurring on the Conners. She starts a recurring part on the Conners. They're going to have like a trans actress on the Conners, and she was the first. She was the first trans actress on Broadway. She was in Wicked, and so the shift and the change that's happening from the inside. And I agree with you. Like, that is what's so powerful, right? Is when it gets changed from the inside. But I think the whole notion of what a lead is has changed a lot. You look at, like, when you and I were sort of growing up, and the stereotypical men and women that were leads in films, not the character actors, but the leading man, the leading women. And that's changed. It's continuing to change. There isn't the same things don't exist anymore. I feel like we're in a very interesting time. There's more shows that have ever been created. There's more possibilities than ever, and there's more opportunities to break the mold than ever. And I think people are doing it. Like, what's her name that just did Let It Kill You? What was the thing on HBO? Michaela Cohen. She had done Chewing Gum on Netflix, and then she just did this show.
And I think you're getting to the point, like, whatever the show is, yeah, absolutely. But like getting to the point of like the business model having changed, and the fact that there are all these streaming services. People aren't beholden to one studio ethic or studio visual anymore. So now you can be a weirdo who makes, like, even if you look at fuck a duck, SNL actress, chubby, funny.
Melissa McCarthy. No. Oh, I know. Adie Bryant.
Yes. Yeah. She has her show called Shrill.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's the definition of what they would not have let you do in the 80s. Be a shrill, obnoxious.
Well, and who's the most powerful person she just got named like most powerful. She did oh my God, I can't think of it. She wrote and created Killing Eve, which is one concept show, like super extreme.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Then she's this awkward, comic, bizarro, funny, dirty other. Like, what a wonderful, like, she has so much breadth in terms of what she's able to present.
Fleabag. Like, and that's the thing. And Katie, that's a great example, right? Because she created that from a stage show.
Yeah.
She created that from a stage show. She had something big that she wanted to say.
Yep.
She created it, and then they turned it into that Amazon show that no one saw for a while.
Yep.
And this giant cult hit, because I do think I do think it's important to acknowledge, like, a voice like yours, there is place for it. If you created the thing and you did it, it's uncomfortable and it's weird and it's not as easy maybe, but there 100% is, and it's needed, right? I mean, like, look at that. Like, look at Schitt's Creek. Schitt's Creek fucking changed that whole thing too with the LGBT. He created a whole world that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. And that became a thing that no one knew. They wanted to win all the awards.
You're 100% right. I remember when I was in LA, there was a woman who, I'm trying to remember what she did. I think she was a screenwriter, and I somehow got connected with her. And there were two things she said to me that, like, I wish I could go back and trust her better. Like, at the time, I couldn't hear it or trust it fully. First thing she said was, "This is not the thing I mean. I wish I could go back and trust." But she goes, "Any chance you're a lesbian?" Mm-hmm. And I go, "What?" She goes, I know we can shoot you up through the ranks of Hollywood right now if you're gay, because there's this like girls club inside Hollywood that's like powerful lesbians that are like, oh, one of us, come this way. And there's like a whole fucking network of how shit goes down, how things get produced and people have money and all of that. And I was like, well, no. I like wished I could say yes, but I'm like, kind of ladies are hot, but I'm not that gay. And then she's like, all right, never mind that. Then if that's not the case, then the only other thing I can tell you is, given who you are and given what you're showing me, you need to make a show and try to get that show picked up. Yeah. And I remember thinking, that's all I've ever wanted. And then immediately next to that was, there's no way in hell that's going to happen. And I didn't have faith.
Katie, it can still happen. That's
I know,
the thing.
But I'm
you and I are having this conversation.
I'm just kidding.
And it can still happen. And it's needed.
Okay, good. You needed, I don't know. See, now, this brings me perfectly to the other thing I wanted to name about my dynamic with you, Scott, which I think is related directly to what we're talking about right here, which is, let me think about how to go into this. It's like, it's needed. Okay. There came a point, like, boy, there's a lot of ways into this conversation. There came a point where my need to self-care, like my need for self-care and to nurture my nervous system I finally surrendered to like that being primary rather than success being primary. Now, before I say the sentence I'm about to say, I'm going to say, I recognize you can have both. You can care for your nervous system and have success. I get it. But for me, what happened was when I started to put my nervous system's well-being, peace, internal peace, above winning at the game of fill in the blank about anything external, everything got better in my life. I started making money. I started helping people. My healing business blew the fuck up. This happened. I moved away from, everything sort of fell into what I would call the path of least resistance and fell into a kind of organic flow. Now, I'm not saying that means I have shut down the possibility of having a whatever, wherever, but I am saying that it would have to come from a really organic place inside of me. And I will only do it when and only when, if and only if it is done in a way that I get to honor my nervous system, my need for rest, my need for sleep, my need for autonomy and control, because we should really talk about control in a second, because there are ways that control gets demonized in the healing world, in the spiritual world, in the recovery world, in the therapy world, because of course, control can kill you. Like the illusion of control is a problem. And there are forms of control that make yourself able to align with flow. You can't surrender to the divine flow and have a life that actually works for your individual, because ain't nobody the same as anybody else. Drives me nuts that we give these fucking platitudes that are supposed to apply to every fucking buddy just because you're on a spiritual path now. There's no way you can have a life that really honors your own nervous system if you're not in a certain amount of control of your fucking reality. People relinquish so much control in the name of surrender that they have no self left. And then when you have no center and no self, you're a reed in the wind that can be blown around according to the whims and desires of everything around it. And then you find yourself exhausted one day going, what happened? How am I doing this terrible play? Or how am I with these people I can't stand? Because you weren't willing to take control. I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about one. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying it is more important to me at this point to be really caring about my inner reality, such that I just won't give it away for anyone anymore. Not for a play, not for a TV show.
I'm right there with you. I mean, that was the whole journey of sobriety and recovery and all of those things, because you're right. There is no, the seeking of the external validation to try to fill the inside is an endless loop that can never actually be met. So my life is it's very different than what it was. And it's in some ways I feel Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you, Katie. Like there's something about when you put the nervous system first, when you get off that treadmill, when you really start listening to your body, when you really start practicing what it is to live in the moment, to really listen to yourself, to listen to your pain, right? To listen to your pain, to build a relationship with it, to all of that. Like it's very, very different.
100%. And what I was going to say about our dynamic is I usually witness, and this weirdly relates. I haven't found it. There's a tie, but sometimes when you and I first start talking, I always feel like I'm doing bits, I'm doing jokes, and you're like very serious and very present and emotional, and I'm like, this bitch wants me to like get really serious. I'm supposed to meet you here. You're not doing that. I'm just I witness this like difference in how we present or in how we show up initially. And then whenever you and I start talking, this is just something I witness, and I'd love to hear your framing of this. There comes this place where there's this middle place for, like, I'm less bit making and you're a little lighter. And somewhere in the middle, we find this connection where like the weight, I feel like you want me to drop into this weighty place. And I'm like, but up here, there's a good time. And it's both of them are far.
Well, I mean, you're talking about the polarities of masculine and feminine now, aren't you?
I don't think so.
No?
But it sounds flipped
let's talk
to me.
about it.
That sounds flipped, which I like. That the polarity of masculine and feminine, I would posit you're manifesting Scott, the feminine, in that description that Katie just gave. And Katie is manifesting what would be called the masculine, I think, in general. Maybe I'm crazy, but that's how I perceive that.
The masculine is the part in my work and what I've done and what I've studied. The masculine is the part that is the consciousness that breathes, that holds the space for the feminine. It's the part that is still. It's the container. The feminine is the wild expression of all of the energy. So, I mean, that's how I understand.
But,
and again, it's not male. It's not male, female. It's masculine, feminine.
No, of course, we get the difference.
Yeah.
But that makes sense in and of itself. I get that. I'm like, yeah, that is what that is.
Right.
And I think I'm talking about, okay, well, how would you frame this? Oh, actually, maybe I was talking about like playful and light versus serious and heavy.
Okay. So here's the deal. I show up to most things angry and uncomfortable and irritated because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going on. And it's kind of like my default is like, I'm coming from other things. Yesterday I had a client like ghost me when he still owes a bunch of money, bunch of shit going on. Right. And also like underneath a lot of the anger and stuff is also fear, right? The uncertainty, the unknowing. So there's always a part of me that's like, let's see what's going on. And so as we continue to go and it feels safe and I don't feel like something's being taken from me and I don't feel like I have to perform, right? I feel like I'm being accepted in the moment as it is.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I'm accepting you in the moment as you are. I do feel like there is more of something that starts to happen where maybe, you start doing less bits, right? You start to ground a little more and I get a little lighter.
That's right.
I'm Russian. My dad's side of the family is Russian. I don't come like my default is not light.
Mine either.
Oh, okay. So.
I'm just saying this is a dynamic that plays out between you and I. You know how different people, this comes back to, I have like 80 ideas happening. Number one is, I feel like Scott might be a 5 Enneagram. What do you think, Cassidy? Number two is, we'll come back to that. Human design.
I don't think I have enough information.
Are you familiar with human?
Yeah.
Okay. That would be my guess, but who knows? Human design says, and I just experienced this personally as a human, everybody's so specifically unique and you have these different gates and channels in your auric field such that when you come into contact with someone else's auric field, what is going to happen between those two humans is going to happen. It is not somebody needs to be more this way and more that way. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't be heavy when we talk. Mm-hmm. I'm saying when you and I talk,
got it.
That's that's where it begins every time with me up here and you in there. And then this thing happens as our auric fields begin to communicate with one another where they sort of like find their something. They find a new plane, or they connect, and the gates and the channels start to operate the next way they're meant to operate, which I think is not right or wrong. It's just what occurs.
Yes. Well, I'm clear. I don't know if I'm clairaudible. So I hear stuff, right? So I'm always listening. So a lot of my stuff when we're happening is listening.
Which is very 5 Enneagram, but also I hear you deeply because I have the clairsentience audience knowing and seeing. But I like it. I'm always in a way, not envious, but I love when someone has one that's really strong as over the others. Because in the same way that like when you're good at one thing, it's amazing. You know that saying, like, to know one thing intimately is to know all things. You know, which is what I love about 12-step. And I want to get to that. But that the 12-step framework of reality is the thing I know most. It's the thing I know most deeply in my bones, that and how to be one with God. Those are the things I know. That's the only stuff I know. But from there, everything else is easy because I know one thing fully. And from there, I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. Anyway.
You can see all the obstacles in your way.
Thank you. Thank you for getting that. Thank you.
Are the dark clouds gone?
They're gone. They're all gone. So clairaudience. So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about that. Like, how does that show up? What's an example of like what'll happen for you?
This was me tapping my watch to say we should probably get in the record soon, just to drop that.
It's almost, what time did we start?
9:30.
10 and it's 12.
So we're an hour and a half in right now.
Oh, right. So we have, okay, got it. Okay. It's just, Scott is so fascinating. There's so much.
I know, this is such juicy conversation. I don't want to.
That's the thing, Katie. I always love when we get in these conversations because there's something that happens, right? I love how you described it, that there's like, it's almost like keys being put into lock. And then it gets put in the lock, something else gets unlocked and something else gets unlocked. So it's just something, and it doesn't really have to do with you and I. It's just the space that you and I hold, and that what happens when we come together, you know?
That's right.
So
the layers of what these two consciousnesses are doing.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it very well. I can say that it's connected to music for me. I can say that I can think about anyone I've ever had a conversation with in my life, and I can completely hear the sound of their voice to the point that I can hear pitch, tone, quality, affectations in their voice. Anyone I've ever had a conversation with, when I can think about it and I can hear their voice. So I think it's related to that. And then as far as actually being clairaudible is just tuning in to what's there under the noise, where I'm given guidance or receive a message of whatever it might be. And I don't know what it is because it happens.
But what's an example of one? Like you're having a chat with a guy at Burger King and then you hear a voice that says, order the fries.
Yeah, like I'll...
That's usually how it plays out.
But I don't want the fries. I order the onion rings. Get the fries.
Get the fries.
Fuck you, voice.
Yeah.
It's more of the. It's more like if I'm working with a client or I'm on the call with somebody, and or even a sponsee or something, right? And we're having a conversation, and I feel like I'm really speaking to them. I feel like something is speaking through me to them, right?
Yeah.
So my logical brain's out of the way. In fact, a lot of my logical brain is going, don't say that. What are you doing? Stop doing that. Why are you doing that? Stop that, right? But something else is coming through while that's happening. Inevitably, I'll say something like, I'm trying to think of a specific example and one's not coming to me right now, but I might say something about like a lake or a pond. And they're like, oh, well, we had that when I was little, or, oh, that's right. Or, one person I was like, you're, I don't know what you're like, why are you still talking to your grandma? Like, are you, and like that, like, so there's just those things that come through. Right. And it's more like that. And then I don't know why I'm saying it. And everything in me is saying, don't say that. That sounds stupid. Like it doesn't make sense logically. And then if I let myself if I trust that part of me that is hearing it and I speak it, inevitably it somehow is very directly related and meant for that other person.
Can I ask you a question?
I 100% I experience that myself all the time. And then yes, Cass, I just want to add something. which is that I'm actually wondering, so like what I'm hearing you talk about is you get divine awareness about, you'll create a metaphor in words. You'll be like, it's like you're a lake. And they'll be like, I grew up on a lake, because you're receiving divine information and then transmuting it into however it gets transmuted. Or other times you get your grandma. Do you have a grandma? That's like, yeah. But because you said clairaudient, I'm waiting for a story, and you don't have to give one. I'm just curious. I'm curious about, a lot of times people who are clairaudient, they literally hear phrases. So it'll be like, I'm talking to you, and then a phrase comes through my ears. Whereas there's claircognizant, where you just know a thing. And you don't know how you know, but you just know. So I'm wondering, do you get sentences that you hear?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. I mean,
so my question, go ahead.
Just
for clarification. Well, I think it might be more clarification, because what I heard was that you hear someone's voice and it might not be relevant to what they're saying, but their voice triggers some form of knowing about them or about something. That's what I heard. So not necessarily their words, but just their voice, or when you hear them speak, that triggers something for you.
That's not clairaudience, by the way. That's a thing that you're talking about now, Cass. That would be a different thing. I just want to define our terms.
But yeah. That's what I heard Scott say, but I might also be confused.
Is that what Scott said, Scott?
You guys, I'm getting confused.
We're so confused.
No, it's so for me, a lot of this is also indefinable. There's also the things of just what is happening in this moment, what's coming through, what am I being guided to say or do at any given moment. Sometimes I hear a phrase, sometimes it's a knowing. I don't know totally what I am. I've been told I'm a psychic and that I am a medium and that I'm a channel. I've been told all those things. My comfortability and what I understand and the way that I express it and the way that I've learned it in myself is I say clairaudio because of the way that I hear things, because of the things that I feel I'm being either like that something's speaking to me or that something's speaking. Yeah. So that's
but it's
how
not
I
the
makes
voice
more
of
sense.
the,
I was
it's not
confused.
the voice of the client. Yeah. Just because I don't want to put labels on Scott, but just for people listening, just to name from the realm of teaching people about psychic stuff and spirituality, clairaudience is when you hear messages from the beyond or the divine. Clairsentience is when you feel messages from the beyond or the divine. Claircognizance is when you just know and you don't know how you know, but you get like a psychic knowing. And then some people have clairvoyance where they see images. That's you see it. Yeah. And then other people have all of them, or two of them, or whatever. So I'm hearing Scott say he receives information from a couple directions, knowing and hearing. Those are his main channels. And I'm articulating that I tend to get it from the 4 different channels. And that's what we're talking about. For people
I appreciate that
listening.
clarity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was confused.
Yeah. Sweet. So on that note, Scott, are you interested in having us open your records?
Open those fucking records and listen to them.
And by us, I mean my ass.
There you go.
My ass will be reading your records.
Sweet.
Great.
Now we're back to the poop joke.
I know. I got excited. Cleveland. Right. I am from Cleveland, so.
Oh, are there a lot of poop jokes in Cleveland?
Cleveland Steamer.
Oh. All right. It's just straight up Scott Victor Nelson is your full legal name?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a name that shows up on your driver's license that's any different from that?
It might just say Scott V. Nelson, but I think it says Scott Victor Nelson.
Okay. And the V is for?
Victor.
Vagina.
Or vagina.
Do you have one, or do you enjoy interacting with them? Or both?
I don't have one.
Oh.
I do enjoy them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just felt like we should state our terms. We want to get clear.
It's important before you open the records to know these things. Apparently.
It's not all I enjoy.
It's not?
Don't put him in a box.
Do you like the fruit papaya?
I feel
I'm
like,
just trying to see other things that...
Are we speaking in code? What is it?
No, literally, do you like the fruit papaya?
I always think that I'm going to enjoy papaya more because I always expect, unless it's the exact ripeness, they're kind of disappointing.
That's how I feel.
I don't mind a green papaya salad from a Thai restaurant, but
Fair enough.
as far as the actual fruit of the papaya goes, it's usually disappointing.
I feel that way.
Well,
now,
they can actually taste literally like a little bit like puke sometimes.
They can.
Like stomach acid.
Totally.
Unless you put lime on them and they're perfectly right.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
What's the one that you crack it open and all the red things are inside?
The little seeds?
What are those?
Pomegranate.
Those are delicious, but you really have to work for them.
You got to work.
You got to spank them. You know how to spank a pomegranate?
No.
Look it up. It's worthy.
Katie,
but we should move on.
I feel like it's important to tell you right now that I actually just had a session with a friend of mine who's an energy healer, and around the clair audial stuff, she told me that I actually have an ability to hear through all of time.
Yeah. I hear that.
That was an interesting thing because I was like, oh, I don't know what that is
what
or
that means.
do with that, but that's an interesting thing. And then we did something where we like put a filter on it so there could be, I don't know, because I think there might be aliens in my brain too, she said.
Well,
nice.
I can hear all through time. I know what you mean by that.
Yeah.
And I deal with aliens all day, every day. And
Yeah.
they don't scare me. And I clear them all the time and or facilitate whatever they need. So all this is like right up my alley.
Yeah.
Hearing through time is a great skill to have when you're coaching people. It's just what I've found is that it takes a lot of asking of questions of the divine where you go, wait a minute, is what I'm hearing right now from the past, the present, or the future? And then getting a yes or no, and then being like, okay, how shall I apply that awareness?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get, because I've had the thing happen where I'm telling people what I think is the future, but I'm actually seeing the past.
Mm.
Or vice versa. I'll be like, wow, it looks like you lived on a beach and your grandma died. And they're like, we're going to the beach next weekend with my grandma. And then they go and that bitch dies because I'm seeing the future, but I haven't
killed her.
That goes to the blame the messenger problem we've been dealing with for weeks.
Hey, by the way, Katie.
Yeah.
Your ex who the COVID thing, remember the whole conversation you and I had, and he may have transitioned at a certain date. Remember
boop.
Yeah, what did you
boop? Sorry.
Oh, right.
We beat Gurn. His name is Gurn.
Gurn Blanston.
Right.
Gurn Blanston is still with us.
So it didn't happen. Okay.
Correct. And we've had many discussions about this on this podcast. My theory is there's still going to be a thing and it still may occur. Or, we never talked about this, Cassidy. This is great. I called him recently. I was walking down the street in Durango and I had this like, oh God, what if he's a walk-in? Okay, so walk-ins, we need to talk about that for a second. Then we're opening your records. What's your time frame? Do you have to go right at, when do you have to go?
No,
You're
I'm good.
Cassidy?
I'm fine. Just wanting to respect Desmond's time.
Okay, got it. Desmond, is he
as
in
far
the
as
building?
total content? He's right here.
You're good.
He's
here. Good. That's his thumb. That's a positive. Yeah. Affirmative. That's an affirmative. Okay, so there's
Desmond,
a thing.
Are you enjoying this? It's nice to see your face again.
This has been a very weird episode. Usually I'm very excited to sit here and listen to these in full, but I've been, unbeknownst to you, I've been taking kids to preschool and taking pictures of lost puppies to post online while you guys have been having this great discussion. So this is going to be one of those beautiful unveilings when I edit, and I'm just like, wow. But I'm glad that I'm here for the record openings because I need a today.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet. Awesome. What was I saying? Anybody? Nobody
we
gives a
we were talking about German virgin.
German virgins?
Gurn Blanston.
Gurn Blanston.
Oh, this is your theory. Your new theory about walk-ins.
Jesus Christ on the cross. Okay.
You're going to tell us about walk-ins.
So either this earthquakey thing is happening just at a different time, and I just heard the time wrong, got it wrong. Straight up human, fallible, got it wrong. Or they lied, which I don't believe they do. So I don't think that's it. Or he did die, and it was in the form of walk-in-ness, which it looks like this. So sometimes what happens is a soul is done with whatever they were here to do and leaves this body, but simultaneously as they leave, another soul enters, and that soul is called a walk-in. There's nothing bad or evil about them. It's just like if you or I, either of our souls decided to be like, I'm going to be in Cassidy's body now. I could just walk right into Cassidy's body as long as Cassidy leaves. However, I could also walk into Cassidy's body and Cassidy didn't leave. And that's when you have a problem. And that's when a lot of people come see me. They think they're coming because they think they're schizophrenic, or they think they're coming because they can't stop hearing this voice in their head, or they have all these physical problems. And I'll do some crazy thing because I'm told to, which is clear the walk-in that's sharing space in their body, or clear the entity or the person that's sharing space in their body. We'll clear them, which is actually not that hard. And then they're just by themselves back in their body. In fact, much of my own spiritual healing experience and how I got to a lot of internal peace and alignment is through just clearing all the other entities I was sharing this system with that I thought that I didn't know I was sharing this system with, and that psychology cannot help you with, because it's not a psychological issue. It's you're sharing fucking space in your own goddamn house with other fucking people. So anyway, it may be the case that the soul that I dated and had copious sex with left his body because he was done in October. And then there's a walk-in in there now. Could be.
Well, that works with the phrase of the rent is due. It's like, you got to move out.
I know.
Because someone else is moving in. The body's still there. And you just can no longer lease it.
And I
But then when you talk to that person, would you be able to tell a difference?
Not necessarily, but sometimes.
That's weird.
Sometimes you really can. People go like, what happened to my dad? He like suddenly started dating this young chick and he's all fucking weird now and we don't get it. Sometimes it's like there was a car accident, soul left, another soul came in. And that was all written in the soul contract as the person came in. Other times it happens spontaneously. It wasn't written in anything. It just fucking happens. There's like all kinds of ways this shit can take place. Now in this case, I left him a message saying like, sorry, Gurn, beep, in Gurn's place. I called him and I was like, so.
You're going to make Desmond work for it today.
I know. I go, so how you doing, buddy? How are you? Like I'm trying to dance around it. And then I go, okay. And I was walking on the streets of Durango and I go, all right, I'm just going to cut to the chase. Do you think there's any chance you left your body and there's a new being in there right now? That's called a walk-in. And I'm on his voicemail. Can you guess whether or not he's called me back?
Has not.
He has not.
I would not.
I know, I'm weird. That's a crazy voicemail again.
I guess he's like, I wouldn't fucking call you back.
I'd be like, block.
What would you do if you got that message? You'd block me?
I'd probably call you. I would call you back and be like, I don't know how to process that. That's a heavy thing to lay on me.
Except that this is a guy who, since he was 17, has been sitting with this awareness.
Been sure he was going to die 2 months ago.
Yeah, and processing it and seeing psychics about it and curious about it. So and we did date and we do know each other. So there is a chance that he heard it with compassion, you fucktards. He might have heard it like,
I wouldn't even.
No, Scott's
I'm not angry at you for it. I just think it's strange. I think it would be a challenging thing to have put on you. Desmond's going to say something.
Comedically aggressive. This is not actual emotion. Yes, Desmond?
I would text you back, new soul, who dis?
That's genius.
Perfect punchline. Let's get those records.
I got to let the dog out, and then it's going to take 30 seconds. I'll be right back. I need to say something about the 8 Enneagram. This is me. 8.
Oh, boy.
Something about 8 that people don't understand. I once dated a guy where I was like, the thing I liked about him, the thing we bonded most about, was we both did comedy aggression the same way. So we never had a misunderstanding. Because I'd be like, fuck you, you shit bag. And he'd be like, fuck your ass, bend over, bitch. And I'd be like, yeah! Because that's like the most silly, lighthearted, playful thing to me. But it lands for most normal humans. Like I'm an asshole. And like I'm mean and I'm angry. And so I'm so glad this is what I love about the Enneagram, is that it's a language and a framework that gives people context and explanation. You can explain where you're coming from in a way that helps other people understand you or them in a different way without it seeming another way. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense or no? I just had to spit in a napkin. The other thing about the 8, and then we're going to do this. Is the 8, I'm almost done. The 8 has to express like a lot. And then as soon as the expression finishes, it's like nothing happened. They're back to center, back to zero. which is also hard for people because people take the expression seriously and like, they're like, wait, you said, and they're like, no, that's over now. We said those words. Now we're here. What are you upset about? Which is also a very difficult energy to date. So good luck to you, Moab guy. Let's do it.
Moab guy.
You missed that section.
You'll have to hear it in the
shit
edit.
on your chest.
The Cleveland Steamer. That's what a Cleveland Steamer is.
I know that.
Thank you,
Also,
Cassidy. I'm glad you said that for any listener who's like, why the fuck did Scott just say that? Well, I'm really glad that you connected those dots.
We're back to the punchy. Plus, Katie just moved her chair and it sounded like a fart, which references an earlier conversation we had.
Boom.
Great.
I'm giggling.
Good times. Oh, Jesus. All right. I guess we have to get deep now. Let's do it. Motherfucker. I'm enjoying the punch. It's nice when you've been quarantining and like doing life to get punchy. All right. We'll close our eyes. I'm going to try to get us out of here by 1:45 or maybe, that'll be 11:45 your guys' time or just a little before 12. Does that work for everybody before I dive in?
Yep.
Okay. Probably maybe 12. Let's be real. Okay.
All right.
Excuse me. Sparkly water. Okay.
What flavor?
Come on. You have to ask.
Grapefruit.
Yeah.
It's the only one. And
It's the only one.
Spindrift grapefruit is the best one.
Really?
Better
like
than LaCroix. No.
You think so?
Did you try it?
Mm-hmm.
It's the best.
I
LaCroix's good. LaCroix's good. Spindrift is better.
I just don't feel that way.
Yeah, you can be wrong. It's okay.
Okay.
Enough room in the world for people to be wrong.
For people to not.
I'm a Virgo, so they're.
Oh,
you know.
God. Those Virgos. So tidy and organized.
In
My
some
God.
ways. In other ways, not at all.
Let's make a spreadsheet about going to the mall. It's like we're just going to the mall.
I don't fucking do that. I don't do that at all. That's not my Virgo nature.
Okay. I do actually want to learn more about Virgo. There's only certain, it's like it's one of them I haven't explored enough. Off we go. Okay. So let's close our eyes. And if you can, Scott, we're going to open your record. So it's kind of important that you be in a relaxed position where you're sitting upright with your back supported so you can relax your body into the weight of your body into the chair you're in. And I'll just ask that you take a couple deep breaths into the low belly, feeling into kind of the pelvic girdle, as it were, not to be confused with the pelvic spanx. Thank you. Breathing into the low belly. So I'm just asking, is it in our highest good for this reading to ground Scott? We don't need to. Do we need to pull him in? We don't need to. So we're going to start right in with the prayer. If you could do me a favor, Scott, and stay present to your own midline, your own internal experience from the base of your pelvic floor up through the middle of you to the heart and the solar plexus, through the throat, the third eye, and the crown. Just being with yourself. The more you can be with yourself, the more I can see clearly and feel clearly and know clearly. And the more healing we can bring through, and the clear audience will be a callback. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light. Asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. Holy Spirit of God, protect me, please, from all forms of self-centeredness and direct my attention to the work at hand. Help me to know Scott Victor Nelson in the light of the Akashic Records, to see Scott Victor Nelson through the eyes of the Lords of the Records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of Scott Victor Nelson have for Scott Victor Nelson. And I'll go quiet for just a moment. If you could stay connected to yourself. Okay, and so we're saying to the Lords, Masters, and Teachers of the Akashic Records of Scott Victor Nelson, we're asking that you deepen us myself and Scott into his records now. Allah. We're asking that you soften the heart chakra for each of us and expand it nice and wide and open, that we can perceive that which desires to be expressed, delivered, transmitted today. Amin. We're going to visualize now, just for a moment, a little grounding cord at the root chakra. It's about 1.5 feet wide, a cord, a trunk, a tree, a tube, whatever, shooting down to the part of the earth that you connect with most intimately, Scott, on the soul level. Whether you know what that is or not is irrelevant. Just seeing that grounding cord extend down into the earth now. I mean, hello. And as that grounding cord extends into the earth, we're going to allow you're going to have the intention to allow yourself to receive divine light up from the earth through the first chakra into the second, into your solar plexus, into your heart, up into the throat, into the third eye, out the crown. And simultaneously, we're going to visualize the divine light flowing from the infinite above down into the crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, second chakra, and first, creating a nice back and forth between the earth and the heavens and the earth, turning it all into one. Yes, I mean, and we understand now from this place of alignment with your record, Scott, this is just the first info coming through. We understand, we being the people listening, I mean, this is for them. The heart is the portal through which the earthly self and the spiritual self become one. When a human experiences separation between the spirit and the body, or the spirit and this life that we're living in 3D reality, it is an indication that a piece in the heart needs to be softened, dissipated, released, cleared, uncreated, destroyed, whatever, aka there is something in the heart that needs to be merged into the vast oneness of the divine. The heart is a microcosm of, as we've spoken of before, a microcosm of the macrocosm of the entire system of the body, being soul, spirit, organism. The heart sits right at the middle of you, metaphorically acting like the portal through which the heavens and the earth become one. Hallelujah. And so we say this now as an acknowledgement of that which you, Scott, organically understand on a visceral, deep, spiritual, cellular level. This is one of your gifts, is you understand the power and the importance and the spaciousness of the heart and its role in presence, connection, communion, oneness, healing, acceptance, allowance, flow, transmutation, etc. And so we thank you, your team here. We thank you from the great beyond, Allah, for living as the person you live as on this earth. You're doing great work. Scott, please understand, beyond anything and everything else that you feel you must accomplish professionally, you are already playing the role you are here to play. You are being the Scott you are meant to be. I mean, the thing that matters more than any other thing in your incarnation this time around is presence, connection, this moment, as you said before, and emanating your heart, aka your soul's truth, through your heart and the cells of your body by being present to your heart, present to the hearts of the people in the room. You have, I don't usually get this much information right away, but they're just talking. You have an ability to reset the vibrational frequency in a room just by you being, as Katie said, the weight that you bring, just by holding the space that you hold, by living from your heart, which you yourself cannot avoid. By the way, this is a lot to do with your past addictive tendencies. Where was the teaching, the holding, Allah, the containment and or the understanding that you needed as a young soul in this lifetime to give containment and context to your gifts? It was nowhere, okay? So in other words, you were walking around as a heart frequency as a child and a teenage boy in this world, trying to like regulate the rooms you were in, but nobody told you that and you didn't know that. And so it all just felt like too much and too difficult to process. And so you wanted to dim your light, understandably, because how the hell do you use your light when you don't know what the freaking light is? You can't. I mean, or it's difficult, we should say. And so it is that you've come into alignment with your heart frequency and your heart vibration, and you are of service. Now, that being said, should there be any pieces that you'd like to work through, we have much light for you here today, should you desire to clear specifically some of what is sitting in your first, second, and third chakras, and or we can begin wherever you would like.
That sounds good.
Okay, feel into the third chakra, please. And, you know, at the solar plexus, yes. Oh, everything there, just being very present to it. Ah, Shafi. Yeah, Shafi. Allah, ya Shafi al-Alim. Just feel it. Just say yes to it all. And allow the light to hit it and transmute it and change it. Allow it to be faster than you expect. I mean, okay, some of that Russianness that you described, Allah, find the energy of that heaviness, that Russianness, that, what is it? Guarding in the second and first chakras. You won't enter my field. You won't fuck with me. And we're just going to allow that guarding to exist. It's there for a reason. It had to exist. Allah. And we're going to meet up with it now. Allah. And bring some light. Allah. Allah. Feel. Please feel. Allah. Down in your body. Good. Allah. 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 And now consciously bringing your attention to the first chakra, which often sits like a white softball-sized ball of light, half inside the body, half outside the body. See it as right now a ball of reddish, grayish, sort of, I want to say, clay or muck. And we're going to transmute that heavy first chakra energy into light to create more alignment with the earth, survival, money, flow, even more than you already have. Ameen, ameen, ameen. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad abduhu wa rasulullah. Astaghfirullah al-Adim, Astaghfirullah al-Adim, Astaghfirullah al-Adim. Oh Allah. Astaghfirullah al-Adim, Astaghfirullah al-Adim, Astaghfirullah al-Adim. Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah al-Adim. Okay, and so Scott, if you could say a couple words about what's happening for you in your body now, or what has been happening, that would be great.
There's a lot of pain on the left side, the left shoulder, the left arm, the left hand, down into the feet, both feet. There's sort of a clogged feeling in the left ear.
Okay. Will you do us the favor to please feel into all of that simultaneously? We're going to feel into the tightest parts of the pain, the feet, the shoulders, and the ear, and down into the arm. Oh, Allah. Ooh, Allah, 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 Allah. Allah, 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 Allah. Allah, 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 Allah. Allah. Allah, 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 Allah. All right, and what's happening now in those same places?
I'm just aware that the pain feels much more concentrated in the left hand now.
Okay, good. Okay, good. And let's be present to that. In the hand. Yep. Okay.
It's getting more intense.
Good, good. It's about to blow out. Stay with it. Allah. Allah. Astaghfirullah. Allah. Nobody here is afraid of you. Allah, what you're doing is forbidden in all the teachings and the practices and the religions of divine surrender. You can go ahead and leave his body, being, soul, spirit now, across all time, dimension, space, reality. Allah. 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 Okay, and what's happening now?
It still hurts. It's a little bit less. It feels like there's like a I don't know, like a ball of energy or like something in my right palm. Like it feels like there's something almost like sticky and whatever, but the left is still, there's a lot of pain still on the left.
Cool. And is the pain on the left in the hand only?
It's not in the hand only, but that is where it feels most concentrated.
And which part of the hand?
Fingers.
And what kind of pain?
Like it's in a vice grip and it's being squeezed.
Okay. Were you going to say something else?
I don't know, maybe.
Oh, okay. Is it all of the fingers or some?
Thumb is really intense. And then kind of like the knuckle area of the pointer finger and the pointer finger and then the third finger. The thumb is really the most, like the thumb is the most intense. And then some of the, like the little finger, I guess, too.
Okay. Let me sit with that for a moment. Would you be willing for this to be gone?
100%.
I'm going to talk to your soul for a second. What is the value of holding this? So just keep feeling into it and notice anything else through the midline of your body. Okay. Return from whence you came, never to return to Scott, his body, or this reality ever again. Stay present to it. Return from whence you came, never to return to Scott, his body, or this reality ever again. Return from whence you came, never to return to Scott, his body, or this reality ever again. Scott, if it makes you less powerful in a way you're familiar with being powerful, would you still be willing to be free of this?
Yes.
Okay. And imagine draining out the tips of each of the fingers of a dense black matter that as it drains out of the tips of each of the fingers, turns into white light and dissipates into the air around it. See it draining out. Also show him. Also see a connection, Scott, from that pain in the fingers through the arms, down through the back nervous system, into the second sexuality, into the sexuality center, and into the spinal column. So this black energy, we're going to see it draining out of the root chakra down into the earth and simultaneously draining the opposite direction out of the fingertips. Without efforting or trying, and without making it wrong. Okay, and so what's happening now? No wrong answers.
It still hurts. There's a little bit more tingling in them. It still hurts. There's logic brain kicking in, like, can I let this go? Is this the skeptic part? Like, all that stuff's happening. The intensity is still pretty intense in the hand.
All right, so let me give him the concept. So the concept here, you're gonna have to make a couple leaps here to let this go. Let's say okay, would you be willing to believe the idea that, let me reframe that. Would it be possible for you to believe the idea that certain energies that are causing this pain, certain energies exist in the universe that then cause the mind to do the skeptical thing, as opposed to believing the mind is skeptical and that's like a separate thing from what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay. So, let me see here. I'm going to ask some questions out loud. Is there a different way to go about this? No. Does he need to feel something he's not feeling already? No. What's it going to take to release this? Okay, so just be aware of it, Scott, and continue, please, to see that energy draining out of the tip of each finger. It's pulling from your mind and from your root and from the sexuality and through the nervous system out to those fingers, and it wants to release. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir. Relax, Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyakana, let go. Iyakana budu wa iyakana stain. Allah, ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Sirat al-ladina an'amta alayhim. Allow the divine to take it rather than trying to get rid of it. Iyakana budu wa iyakana stain. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Sirat al-ladina an'amta alayhim. Wayrul maghdubi alayhim waladolin. Amin. Kul hu Allahu ahad. Allah, Allahu samad. Allah, Lord's masters and teachers ask you to remove this and the structures holding it in place. We're asking for a clearing right now of this pain and everything that creates it. Kul hu Allahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allah. Kul a'udhu bi rabbi. Allah. Falakh min shari makhlaq. Allah. ومن شر ياسكين إلى وكاب ومن شر نفثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إلى حسد. Entities involved? Demon. Okay. Kula would be Rabbi Nas, Meliki Nas, Ilahi Nas, Min Shari Waswas Khanas Aladi Waswisu fi Suduri Nas. Open the heart. Min il Janati wa Nas. Subhanallah. Yeah, that's good. Oof. Oh, wow. I sure feel better. Thank you. And what that means is that there is a lot of movement here. Okay. So what's happening now, Scott?
Feels like it's more concentrated in the tips now.
Okay, that's cool. Okay. And what kind of feeling is it that's there in the tips?
It's like they're tingly, but they're also being, especially the thumb part and then the fingertips. It's tingly, but it also feels like they're being like pinched really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just going to keep feeling into it. It's just going to take a minute. Allah. Allah. Okay. All the oaths, vows, fealties, communalties, swearings, promises, commitments, bindings, bondings, blood oaths, signed, sworn, or committed to. All the soul contracts you signed, swore, or committed to, Scott, to keep these guys here, to serve them, or be served by them. Allah, will you now revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate all that, please? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Everything you identify with that is these energies that you're unaware you identify with, would you be willing to no longer identify with them?
Yes.
All right. And what's happening now?
It's about the same.
What else is happening?
There's more awareness, it feels like, the right side of my body, where it felt like before there was like tremendous amount of awareness in the left, and the right was almost like a little bit asleep.
Yeah.
Feels more like the right's a little bit more online now.
Right.
In the center of the right palm, again, it feels like that sort of sticky energy ball kind of thing that's there.
That's great awareness. Thank you for that. That's actually very helpful. when you're over here, and a sign of progress with what we're working with for you from my lens. So when you feel into now, I'll bring your attention a different spot into the second chakra and the first. So the genitals, and then just above that area. Mm-hmm. What is it like in there right now?
I mean, I'm aware of it. Uh-huh. It feels sort of trapped. Like it doesn't feel like my dick is like loose and like hanging. It feels like it's like hiding.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting. They don't want to work there. They want you to be aware of that area though, and then aware of this openness more so on the right side. Let's see. Okay. Scott, would you be willing to be fully psychic?
Yes.
In other words, like to know everything you know, to hear everything you hear, to see everything you see, and to feel everything you feel, even if it means your entire life will change?
Do I have a choice?
Not really.
Yes.
I mean, if you're willing, then we can loosen this.
Yeah.
All of these energies, now it's all very clear now. These are all energies just stopping that. So everything you did in this lifetime and any other lifetime across all time, dimension, space, reality, to shut it all down, lock it in a box, close it up, and never see, know, feel, hear, perceive, or receive again. Will you revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, destroy, and uncreate all that?
Yes.
Okay, I mean... Feel into the second chakra. Receive light into that area now. Allah. Allah. Everything you did to veil, cloak, bury, or hide your awareness, will you clear it all now, Scott?
Yes.
Okay. Everything you did to be less weird than you are, will you let it go now?
Yes.
Okay. Now, your greatest abilities with humanity, to serve humanity, to be who you are, to feel most yourself and most alive, come when you become the full embodiment of your full eccentricity and your full giftedness. The phrase they give me, I say this a lot as a joke, but they're saying it right now quite literally, is that you are a wizard, and they're putting the cap on your head now. And the light is entering the body as you become more and more willing to be a big, fat, fucking weirdo. Wizard Merlin style. Like legit magic shit. Blah. And so we ask for the transmutation, Divine Mother, Father, all that is, Lords, Masters, and Teachers of the Records for Scott Victor Nelson, of all the energies that are standing like films or blocks or scabs on top of his gifts and abilities. His psychic and spiritual healing, multidimensional gifts and abilities to be cleared, uncreated, destroyed, integrated, opened, softened, released, detoxified, sent to the light, and or whatever else is required that he may become, inhabit, be, and walk through the world confidently as the wizard he actually is. I mean... You know, and you know this already, but we'll reiterate now. The gifts of the wizard are far beyond, we should say, are far more multidimensionally capable and diverse than the gifts of the coach or therapist. This is not to diminish the value of coaching and therapy. It's to say it's more than that. It's something, it's that, and then in addition to that. What will benefit you most going forward through this lens as we see it, take what you like, leave the rest, is to always assume you can function from the beyond. Enter into the conversations you have Allowing your midline to soften and expand and open. The midline being from the root up through the middle of you, all the way to the third eye, all the way to the crown, the whole midline. You understand what we mean by midline?
Yes.
Okay. You enter each conversation, allowing the midline to almost light up with white light, expand and evaporate until you're just the field of white light. Perceiving, knowing, receiving, all. You must begin to assume you are the field of pure consciousness and that you have abilities beyond what makes rational sense and what they taught you in the school. Why is it so important to function from that belief? Because when you believe it, more awareness becomes available for the client and for yourself. When you don't believe it, and you're good at acting as if, so act as if all day, if that's what you need. When you don't believe it, you literally shut the doors of your perception down. You close them. So you can't perceive more. Does this make some sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, questions?
Is there anything I have to do with that information? Are there actions or things that I'm supposed to actually do? Or am I just supposed to let it unfold? Or is there...
Practice, yeah, good question. So practice what we described. See the midline lighting up like a white tunnel. See your heart opening and softening. See the whole midline. Feel and see this when you work with a client, right before, little meditation, right? See it opening and expanding so that if you visualize the midline like this to start, it's a tight tunnel. Then it goes like this and it becomes in your whole energy field becomes infinite white space. Okay. Left, right, up, down, forward and back, like a sphere, but a sphere that expands infinitely in every direction.
Okay.
What that's doing is it's opening your perceptive ability through the body.
Yeah.
In addition to the mind and the heart and all the things. So you'll be able to perceive shit you can't believe you can perceive. And you'll be able to pull things out of people just by, the pulling things out of people is going to take a little time and a little training. But in the meantime, practice this expansion-y thing and notice what you begin to perceive for people and continue as you've been functioning with people, with clients. But practice this expansion first and notice how much more you notice and how much more you know and how much more psychic information you receive through the body. You're also going to see through the third eye and you're images and you're going to hear and you're going to know, you're going to have all of it. Then when you're ready for more training, wizard training, you call Katie, you do a session, and she gives more information. There's a fair amount to understand about transmitting light, but you will be capable of that should you desire it. Now, here's the good news, bad news. Whether you desire it or not, as you said moments ago, do I have a choice? You will never feel complete, whole, and at peace to the degree you desire, because you have the big vision. You have the grand vision that mystics have of a life of total freedom internally, just free from the bondage of self.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you believe that's possible. A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And they're not even meant to, but you are meant to be fully liberated from the bondage of self. The way to be fully liberated, or a way, no, they say the way, capital T, to be fully liberated from the bondage of self is to fully surrender into and to become the divine light walking. Where your experience of being awake and alive in a body is that there is no duality, there is no separation, there are no tension of opposites, you are the oneness. Now, you'll come in and out of that state, but because you have access to that state, which most people don't have, can't have, won't have, don't want, that's how you become maximally yourself and therefore maximally at peace and therefore maximally of service. So as we said in the beginning, you're already emanating a heart frequency that unifies the hearts in the room, that changes the tone of the room. Now, if you choose, you get to go next level. Now is the time, by the way. This is why all of this is happening in the world, for people to go next level. And in your case, that means becoming a mystic. A mystic is he who is at one with the light of the divine. There is no not that in your field. Okay.
Question.
Yes.
So there's a part of me that is hearing and knowing everything that you're saying.
Right.
And then there's also a part of my logical brain that wants to come in, and the skeptic is as loud as the believer, right?
Sure,
I believe the skeptic sort of guards the believer.
Yep.
So if there's any tools or things that we can do with the skeptic or the logical voice or that part of the brain, that would be super fucking helpful for this thing.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to wrap up here. They're like, okay, we're closing up. I don't know why, but they are. This is it for now, probably because of time. But they're saying, for now, your task is do the energy expansion exercise we described. Practice pretending to believe you have psychic ability 360 degrees around you from every direction when you're with clients and when you're not with clients. Practice the expansion all the time. Practice, 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 practice. When the skeptic talks, just don't listen. It can talk and you can say, I hear you. Now, I'm going to listen to the believer part. The truth really is you strengthen your skeptic when you listen to it. That's all. It's like if an insane person was released from the psychiatric ward and came tapping on your window, whispering secrets from Xenu. Would you fucking listen? No. Because you'd be like, that's not the thing I want to listen to. In this case, you must choose, and this is a choice you have. This is where the free will universe is real. You have to choose not to listen to it. It can talk all it wants. You can't identify with it anymore if you want what we're offering here, nor can you listen so closely.
It's speaking right now, and it says, fine, give me a lot of money then. And I'll shut up.
Yeah, of course it will.
That's what it's saying.
That's so funny. I love that. I so relate to
You're
that.
gonna buy me off.
That's what it's saying. Like literally, like fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk about that next time.
Okay.
Hallelujah. Namaste. It's a great awareness to have. Yeah, we're going to talk about that next time. So you have your little marching orders here from the beyond. And I say little, referring to the fact that I'm giving them, not referring to the significance of them. All right, so I want to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I want to thank the Lords of the Records for their point of view, and the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. I ask that you return all of Scott Victor Nelson's energy to himself. I ask that you return all of Scott Victor Nelson's energy to himself. Please return all of Scott Victor Nelson's energy to himself. Return him now, please, to his complete human wholeness. Return him now to his complete human wholeness. The divine portal and the Akashic records for Scott Victor Nelson are now closed. Amen. The divine portal and the Akashic records for Scott Victor Nelson are now closed. Amen. Divine portal and the Akashic records for Scott Victor Nelson are now closed. Amen. 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 I am so grateful to you, and I'm late, so I'm gonna leave real quick. But I would love to make the offer. This was intense and a lot. And if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Please, message me where we chat.
Thanks.
And let's keep following up.
Wonderful.
I love you, Cass. I'm sorry to run. I'm super late. I just realized it.
It's totally fine. Do your work.
Do your work.
What are you asking for? All of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you.
This feels like a very abrupt ending, Cassidy. I'm a little bit like, with everything we just did, and now it's like,
it's not usually like that.
Click.
We just ran over so long than we usually do. We usually have a little more container of our time so that we can slowly move out. But you and I can talk for a few minutes.
Like a couple exhales, right?
Right. I stopped recording, so whatever.
Awesome,
that's the episode.
Great. Well,
yeah, I still have so many more questions, both for you and for Katie, but those are all just like.
Well, I'm just going to ask a Sybil, what are you going to do right now, Scott? Are you going to lay down and take a nap? Do you have to rush off and work, for God's sake? Like, can you?
You going to take a big shit, maybe?
I think I want to get some food. I want to get some water. I want to walk outside and feel the sunshine on my face. That's as far as I'm going to go.
That was a Sounds Awesome production.